So welcome everybody. I am Barb Giamanco and I am joined by my cohort in crime today, Kevin Thomas Tully. Kevin, let the audience know you're here, buddy.
Hi everyone.
So we're going to be talking about how to make sure that you don't let your sales take a summer vacation, even though many other people are taking a vacation at this point in time. So we're going to spend some time talking about what it means to keep your prospecting fresh during the summer hot season. You can read about the bio later. Briefly, all you really need to know about me is that I am a longtime salesperson, have been involved in selling and managing sales teams in various industries and across multiple customer types. So I spent 20 years of my career in technology, with the last being with Microsoft, and I have a C-level background in sales technology and leadership. I've also written a book about what it means to integrate social media into selling, which you may recognize as the new handshake: sales meets social media. And so with that, let me turn it over to Kevin to give him an opportunity to briefly introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Barb. Well, like Barb, I've carried a bag. I specialize in using data and predictive analytics to build sales infrastructures and sales teams. And, since sales is a numbers game, you can read here on my bio, I've included a few numbers to just show you how my peers view me within the social selling and sales community. Barb indicated she put her Twitter handle on there. My Twitter handle's on here as well, Kevin T. Tully, 2 T's. And if you feel like you want to tweet about our presentation, just do so with the hashtag social selling. And now that you learned a little bit about Barb and I, what do you say we talk about what we're going to learn today?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea, Kevin.
Okay.
So the first thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to chat with you about the notion that there's just never a darn bad time for prospecting, right? So there's a lot of myths I've heard through the years in selling. Oh, don't call people on a Monday morning. Don't call people on a Friday afternoon. Oh gosh, everybody's on summer vacation. Now's a bad time to prospect. And we don't believe that's true. So we're going to talk about that today. And then we want to talk about some strategies and ideas for helping you to fill the funnel. And finally, focus some attention on the messaging strategies that you can use to convert initial conversations and engagement into hopefully those sales meetings and sales phone calls that you are looking for.
So as Barb mentioned, you're going to learn how to expand your existing network to find more prospects, how to start a conversation with them, and how to meet the sales goals. Your sales goals, of course, is going to be how to close more deals. So, it's summer. Things are naturally going to slow down. Everyone's on vacation. So the tendency is to relax, but don't do it, because sales is not a flip the switch, turn it on, turn it off profession. The top sales performers have a consistent plan and focus throughout the entire year, because you can't play catch up and win. Poor planning and a poor process is always going to yield a poor performance. And for a lot of you, if you look at the calendar, the second half of the year has begun. And for some, it's the beginning of a new fiscal year. So take a look at where you are in achieving your quota. The old sales adage, you're only as good as your numbers. So today, we're going to talk about how to improve them today, right now. And to do this, you're going to need to do two things. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to refocus on your sales targets. You're going to have to develop plans and a strategy, and we're going to help you do that today. You're going to leave here with actionable tips to do that today. And before you can do that, you have to identify who your ideal buyer is and what their characteristics are. And so let's just jump right into it. And let me show you a prospecting search you can do right now on LinkedIn to start and find your ideal buyers. So why don't we go to the next slide, Barb? Okay. LinkedIn is the epicenter of the social selling universe, and it's a great place to begin your prospecting. What I have up here is an advanced search for LinkedIn. Easiest way to get there is to go to any page on LinkedIn once you're signed in, and you can go to the white search bar up top, and you go to the right of the magnifying glass, and you see the word advanced there written in gray. Just click on that, and you will open up this page, your Advanced People Search. In order to do this search, you have to have identified the ideal buyer characteristics that you want to find for this targeted prospecting search. So this search is going to help you uncover new buyers, new decision makers, or champions starting at any company in your city or your industry that makes sense for your solution. Okay, so once again, we're going to open the advanced search feature in LinkedIn. Now, I have a LinkedIn premium account, but everything I'm going to show you today also works for free LinkedIn accounts as well. So if you look on the left-hand column, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 down is title. Now, you're going to enter here the title of your ideal buyer persona. For the purposes of the example here, I sell to Vice Presidents of Sales. So I'm going to put in VP of Sales. Now, as soon as I put into that title box, VP of Sales, a drop-down menu will appear underneath the title box and will give you 4 selections. You want to select current. So I've selected current here. And then you want to move down to the box that says location. Okay? So I'm going to do a search located on or near, and for the purposes of this search, I'm going to put it in the United States. And one of the my childhood programs that I really liked was called Zoom, and I had this stuck in my head, this zip code 02134, which happens to be the Boston area where I do a lot of prospecting in. So I'm going to enter this zip code right here, 02134, and then I am given a choice of 10, 25, 35, 50, or 100 miles radius. So I'm going to put in, for the purpose of this example, 50 miles. You'll also notice up to the top, I can put in my relationship. Okay. And Barb, can you speak it to why I'm going to choose second, third, and group connections here on LinkedIn?
Sure. Well, I mean, what you're trying to do is you want to make sure that you're expanding your reach within the LinkedIn network. And I'm a big proponent of using groups as an important part of your strategy. So you may know that you can join up to 50 groups on LinkedIn, and you make your own decision about whether or not you need to join 50 groups. What we wanted to share with you today, though, is that don't think about joining groups in terms of joining a group because you have to always be answering questions and participating inside the group. While we do advocate that, from a prospecting point of view, you want to strategically choose groups that are likely to have the targeted buyer you're looking to reach as a member of those groups. And when you do that, and the search criteria matches what you've put in the advanced search that Kevin was just talking with you about, that's going to come back in your search results, whether you're connected with them one-to-one or not. Now, Kevin has mentioned third, and Kevin, I want to hear your strategy about this. Sometimes I don't worry so much about third because unless you have a premium account, that can be a little bit tough to reach those folks since you're really only getting the first name, last initial. But I'm sure, Kevin, you've got some great thoughts around how you use that to your advantage. But for myself personally, I think the group piece is critically important. So remember, choose groups strategically, because whether you're connected to those members who match your buyer criteria or not yet, they will expand your ability to reach them through the advanced search. And that's what prospecting is all about, right? Trying to get to more of the people who match your target criteria.
And that's an excellent point, Barb. I put in third just as a habit because I do have that LinkedIn premium account. And as you said, for those of you who have a LinkedIn free account, you will only see on your third degree connections a first name and a first initial of their last name. So getting back to this prospecting search, what you're telling LinkedIn right now is, okay, LinkedIn, I want you to search for Vice Presidents of Sales within 50 miles of Boston, Massachusetts with a zip code of 02134. And what the great thing about this search and the next two searches that I'm going to show you is that you can save this search and up to 10 searches on a LinkedIn Premium account, and up to 3 searches in a free account of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn will automatically run these searches for you and will email you the new results on a frequency that you would determine, whether it be daily, weekly, or monthly. So in about 15 to 30 seconds it takes you to fill in the parameters here of the search and run the search, LinkedIn will automatically, once you save this search, email you new results on this search on any basis that you determine. So you will have prospecting results sent to your email box automatically. So that's a very powerful search. So let's go on to the next slide, Barb. So again, the statistics vary on the cost of acquiring a new customer versus selling to an existing one. So the second LinkedIn search is going to take advantage of the fact that the cost of keeping a customer is 5 to 10 times less than selling to a new customer. And workers in the U.S. change jobs about every 4.4 years. So that's about 7 career changes in someone's lifetime. So what this search is going to take advantage of are the top users of your solution and someone who's used your solution in the past and has gone to someplace else. Because think about it. When you start a new job, you just want to establish yourself. You want to bring what's familiar. You want to bring the people and the processes, and you want to make an impact. So why wouldn't your past buyers want to implement your solution when they go to their new company? Because they loved what you sold them before. Again, you're going to go into a LinkedIn advanced search, and this time you're going to put in the title of your ideal buyer currently. But what's different this time is you're going to put in a company. And the company that you're going to put in are the names of your current accounts. Now you'll notice that I use the word "or" between the company names, like Microsoft or Google or Cisco. Now "or" is a Boolean search parameter, and Boolean is B-O-O-L-E-A-N, search parameter. It allows you to combine keywords within your search. It directs LinkedIn to search more than one keyword item, in this case company names. Again, there's a drop down that comes underneath company, and you select past, not current. So you're directing LinkedIn to find people who currently have the title of Vice President of Sales, which is my ideal buyer, who have previously worked at my named accounts and have gone on to a new job with a new company. And this slide illustrates a better example, because if you look up in the right-hand corner, you can see the word Save Search. And again, LinkedIn will run the search for you and email you the list of new advocates each day if you want. So how powerful is this prospecting search? And then, Barb, if we go to the next slide, we've got a third and final LinkedIn prospecting search that you can use to further leverage your named accounts and your hot prospects by going deeper. Think of how great sales would be if your buyer gave you an org chart during your discovery call. But before you answer, think about if that information is accurate, because most company org charts are woefully out of date. So this is a new leader search. And with this search, you can be identified as soon as your new champions or decision makers are appointed within your named accounts or your hot prospects. Again, same structure of the search goes here. Open the Advanced Search tab. You select your title, which is your ideal persona, or your title of your champion or your decision maker. Again, we're going to use current. Next, in the company box, we're going to enter the names of your named accounts and hot prospects using, again, the Boolean search parameters. Use the word "or." Okay. The drop-down menu is going to appear under the company box. And this time, we're going to select current. So what are we directing LinkedIn to do? Hey, LinkedIn, find me people who currently have the title of VP of Sales, which is my ideal buyer, my decision maker, or my champion, who currently worked at my named accounts and hot prospects. Now, this search is going to provide a snapshot in time, and where the true value lies in this search is with the same search functionality. Because LinkedIn's going to run this search and it's going to email you at the frequency you select whenever someone changes his or her LinkedIn profile and this new job title appears at the company. So the most, go ahead, Barb, do you have something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's great stuff. I think, Kevin, that often I see people who are they're searching for people, but they tend to do that sometimes on an individual basis versus using the strategy of thinking through who the ideal buyer is for you, where they might be located, whether they're in current or past positions, and then using that as a strategy to create a search list that you save that then goes to work for you dynamically, as you said, based on the frequency that you choose. So I think it's an extremely powerful and often overlooked aspect of how LinkedIn can really help you drive your prospecting activities.
Because LinkedIn is all about relationships, and there's a reason that we are going to develop these relationships, because sales is all about relationships as well. And one of the good benefits of relationships, one of the many, of course, and Barb will talk to you about that next, is you can get referrals from the relationships that you developed. And Barb, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when we think about prospecting, and in fact what's so important today is we are outbound sellers and inbound marketers. We're going to talk a little bit about what that means in just a moment or so. And as my good friend Joanne Black would say, people tend to totally underestimate the power of cultivating those referrals. If you don't know Joanne, she's written several great books, and the first one, which I got to know her, is No More Cold Calling. So referrals are super powerful. And in a recent IDC Social Buying Meets Social Selling study, they found that, almost 73% of those people who are profiled, they actually prefer, those decision makers prefer to work with a vendor that is recommended by somebody that they know. All right, so that's awesome. 73% are going to prefer to work with the sellers who've been referred by someone they know. And contrary to what you might think, actually, there's a high percentage of those decision makers actually do appreciate introductions to new people. And I'll take that a little bit further and say that one of my favorite books on selling is from Stephen Bistrich, and it's called Selling to the C-Suite. It's an incredible book on selling, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And in the research that Stephen and his co-author did over a 10-year period with some very high-profile companies that you would recognize, they found that roughly 44% of people who were introduced by someone trusted and respected outside of an organization secured the sales meeting. And guess what? Here's the kicker. If you have cultivated a relationship using LinkedIn or other platforms and mechanisms with people who are inside the company you want to do business with, and they are trusted and respected, and they sponsor you in and make that introduction, guess what? Your meeting acceptance rate just jumped up to 84%. So I don't know about you, Kevin, but when I'm thinking about how I'm going to get in front of the people that I'd like to do business with, I'm always looking for opportunities to be introduced or to cultivate those referrals. And then certainly the next step is, we're targeting certain people we want to reach, and then we come up with strategies for how we're going to engage with them. And so we're going to talk about that for sure. But Kevin, any additional thoughts that you have around cultivating referrals?
Yes, and again, the one thing that I always talk about is I talk about building relationships. And sales is always about relationships, and something that my father told me a long time ago is the most important business skill is the ability to build integrity-based relationships. And when you're asking for a referral, you're not only asking someone to vouch for your reputation, but you're also asking someone to vouch for their own reputation. Because, Barb, I know you very well, and I have no problems vouching for your reputation, but what's to say that you won't go off the reservation and start, hard selling someone if I introduce you to them? I know that's not true. However, when I'm making a referral of you to someone else, it's not only your reputation, but it's my reputation as well. So that's why it's important to cultivate those relationships, because there are two reputations on the line whenever you make a referral.
Yes, that's actually an extremely important point, and it's one of the reasons why I personally have always carefully and organically grown my own network. And there are a lot of people who will come to me and ask for me to make introductions for them, and before I'm willing to do that, because as Kevin said, our reputations are on the line as well, I make sure I really know the people. I feel the same way about giving someone a recommendation on LinkedIn or endorsing them. I really have to feel comfortable that I know their skills, but certainly if I'm going to introduce you into an account, it's my reputation, and the people are trusting me. So if I make an introduction and they accept and something goes wrong with that meetup, then it doesn't bode well for me. So I think that's a super valid point. So now we talked a little bit about LinkedIn, but how do other platforms like Twitter fit? Well, Twitter fits because, let's face it, even if you haven't really quite gotten the hang of Twitter, but let's assume you're working on it, you're experimenting. Twitter is a huge worldwide content repository. It provides you a pretty low barrier to entry in terms of conversation. I mean, if you think about LinkedIn, there are a few hoops you have to go through. You might need to secure an introduction. You could try connecting with them blindly. That might work. It might not work. Maybe you're going to try InMail, but unless the quality of your message is really good. So you have to go through a few hoops there. On Twitter, it's as easy as seeking people out and following them and then finding ways by paying attention to the things that they talk about and things that they care about to enter into a conversation. Not a sales pitch, I might add, but an actual human-to-human, person-to-person type of a conversation. Also, before you diss Twitter, Twitter has an amazing amount of business intelligence. And so when you carefully organize that content to meet your own needs, your own specific goals, you're able to pay attention to the information that matters to you most. So in a second, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the tool that I use, that Kevin uses, that is used by thousands and thousands of sellers. But before I do, Kevin, I know you use some very unique and personalized strategies in terms of reaching people over Twitter. Why don't you share that with the group?
Sure, Barb. My Twitter strategy is one that always leads back to LinkedIn. What I'm trying to do, and as far as Twitter goes, is because of one of the things that you mentioned right there. It's a very low barrier to conversation. There are no gatekeepers. You don't have to request an invitation to connect with someone on Twitter. So when I strike up a conversation with someone at Twitter, I'm always looking to move that toward LinkedIn so I can make the connection there. Because once you make the connection with LinkedIn, that's where most of the business is actually conducted. You can start the conversation on Twitter, then I'm trying to move it to LinkedIn, and afterwards, eventually, I'm trying to move it offline, off social, where I can have a conversation via GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, on the phone,
telephone.
in person. Yes, telephone, of course, telephone, and as far as one of the other aspects of Twitter, Twitter is great for business intelligence. There's conversations that occur in an endless stream, and you can monitor these conversations through Twitter lists. You can put your cold prospects, warm prospects, hot prospects for competitive intelligence purposes. You can put them into private Twitter lists where you can monitor these conversations, who these prospects act with, get information about buyers, accounts, new RFPs, and you can take this business intelligence and you can use this to determine how you're going to prospect, who you're going to contact, when you're going to contact, how you're going to act. There's just so much content also on Twitter that once you manage it properly through the use of Twitter lists and through tools like you're showing right now through Hootsuite, it's the ultimate listening tool where you can publish and you can also schedule messages all in one place. A tool like Hootsuite, when you've identified your prospects and you can manage everything through one platform, helps with not only Twitter but with LinkedIn and on the other social platforms as well. But the challenge, Barb, is once you've identified the prospects, what do you say next?
You bet. And so we're going to lead into that. So for those of you who don't know Hootsuite, it is an incredible tool. I've been a user for probably 5 years now. Great tool that you can get started with for free, and I highly recommend it. Both Kevin and I are Hootsuite ambassadors because we are big fans of the product. And the reason why we wanted to mention this tool to you in particular is because people are often overwhelmed with Twitter because of the rapid pace and speed of which information can come at you. And even though you can set up Twitter lists, you still have to kind of jump around to find them. Using a tool like Hootsuite, as you can see in this example from my Twitter account, you can actually aggregate and organize streams of information specifically for the people and the information types you want to see, as Kevin said. So it might be prospects. You might have a stream for competition. You might have a stream for customers. So this gives you an easy way to start organizing information. The other thing that's great about Hootsuite, even with the free version, you have the ability to schedule messages. Now with the free, you schedule those on an individual basis. If you want to pony up to less than $10 for the pro version, which I highly recommend, you can schedule messages, roughly 350 messages across multiple social media platforms, including LinkedIn, so that you can schedule and organize in advance. But that doesn't mean you should become a bot. It just means that you can key up core information that you want to be sure is shared. That leaves you free to actually be able to engage with people. And so let's talk about that. So now you've done the work to establish search lists in LinkedIn. You've done the work to identify all the key characteristics of the target buyer. You know what groups they might be hanging out in. And you've established some of these strategies for getting to the right people. Now you need to think about getting to them at the right time with the right message. And so this is a particular hot button for me personally, being on the receiving end, as I bet many of you on the line are as well, of some of the worst sales messages ever. So if you think about it, we might only get one chance to make a great first impression. And so the question you have to be asking yourself before you hit send on any email to a potential prospect, and when I say email, that could be traditional email or through the LinkedIn platform, even on Twitter, perhaps, you have to ask yourself, what is your message going to convey about you? Interestingly enough, Serious Decisions has found in their research that the greatest inhibitor to sales success, really the effectiveness, is that inability to create a value message. And a value message is not, let me tell you, all about how awesome our product is. You really have to think about that sales message and the person you're sending it to. And you need to know that it matters. And if it's not relevant, it's not going to matter to the person that you're sending it to. So we wanted to include a couple of real-time examples. And if you want to have some fun, you can go visit the website. Go visit our website at scs-connect.com. Download for free the complimentary ebook that's created called Message Matters. What does your sales message say about you? That ebook was created based on emails that I saved for over a year and encouraged friends and colleagues to send me examples of emails sent to them. Now, I don't call people out in those messages, but I did want to do a compare and contrast, as I'm going to do for you here. This email in particular, I just received a couple of days ago, and the subject line starts with, "I haven't been so lucky." Now, I don't know about you, but that subject line alone, I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, that's a little bit odd, but okay, let me take a look. So I looked at the message. And as you can see here, Christina is telling me she's been trying to call me and that she's left messages, but she hasn't had luck. And she goes on to say that she's supposed to present me with more information on our lead generation campaigns and note my requirements to draft a formal proposal, and asks for a different number. Now, on surface, you might say, oh, that sounds like a pretty good email. Here's the problem. Never heard from this person before, ever in my life. No phone calls. Never heard of her. I have no idea what she's talking about in terms of being supposed to present to me more information so she can draft a proposal for me. Never talked to her, never talked to anybody there, have no idea who this individual or company is. And so my question to you would be, do you want to start off on a relationship with someone by lying? Now, I'm just being blunt about it because some people maybe don't think about it in that particular way. But this message is a lie. So I know that, and that just leads me to think this is not an organization I would want to do business with. Moreover, this is a lead generation company who might be representing me in my business. And I'm not really too thrilled with the way that they're representing themselves right now. And so if that's how they represent themselves, how would they represent me? So here's another example. You may have seen these. Sadly, some people are being trained to come up with these so-called tricky and creative emails, trying to get people to pay attention. I'm not one of those. I believe in being straight and to the point and doing a little bit of homework, as Kevin's going to talk about in a minute, to craft a relevant message that is going to create enough value in just a couple of sentences that says, you know what, I think I would want to talk to that person. So in this particular email, somebody's getting cutesy. Hey, I haven't heard back from you. Tells me one of three things. I want you to know, by the way, this guy kept sending me this email until I opted out, which is ridiculous because I never opted in. But he kept changing the title of the subject line. Finally, I just said, I'd had enough. So he says, okay, you're getting 50 emails a day and you're lumping me in with those bozos. To which I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, actually, I am. And then, okay, the other option is maybe you're not interested, but you haven't, you might be interested, but you haven't had time. And then finally, and my personal favorite, a file cabinet fell on you and you're trying to reach me desperately with an SOS email. All I want to say here is none of that is compelling. It's not cutesy. It's not fun. If I'm the VP of sales or the CMO, the chief marketing officer in an organization, none of that gives me any faith that you would help me be able to resolve the business problems and challenges I face in my organization. And if you don't believe me, I run a podcast called The Razor's Edge, and I talk to sales VPs and CMOs regularly who will tell you that this kind of messaging does not work. So you want to make sure that you're crafting relevant messages, because then this guy, of course, goes on to say, hey, if you want to see a sample of the list, click below. You can see the pricing. The whole thing is a complete waste of time, and sadly, people are burning a lot of time inside their company and burning a lot of sales time, I might add, doing this kind of thing when it's not really leading to the kind of result that you want. So I'll turn it over to Kevin and let him talk about best practices and some suggestions and strategies for how to really craft the right kind of message.
Thanks, Barb. What I always find unusual is that salespeople can talk for a living, and yet when you take a phone out of their hands or take them away from a face-to-face meeting and you put them in front of a computer on email or on social media, all of a sudden they forget about the English language. They forget that what they write is different from how they would present themselves if they were in front of a prospect or if they were on the phone. And it really is that simple. Would you want to be on the receiving end of this message? Think about that. Just use common sense. Don't try to sell with your message. That's not what people want to hear. As the old adage is, you're not trying to try to propose marriage on the first date. Well, my wife is beautiful. I tried to do that. She, thought I was funny, and so eventually she said yes, but that was until months later. But that's a different story. Would you want to be on the receiving end from someone who is not adding any type of value with their message, on those ones that Barb just showed you, who is trying to contact you on Twitter when you don't have a Twitter account, who goes on and rambles with a long Magna Carta or War and Peace type email? No, these are things that are going to turn you off if you received it. So why would you think that your buyer or your prospect wants to receive it from you? I mean, the biggest question we get from salespeople is, when is the right time to engage? What they usually mean is, when's the right time to sell? And the best answer to that is you have to look for clues. Because if we go to the next slide, there's digital clues, there's trigger events that indicate online when you should interact with a potential buyer or prospect. And Barb and I are very active within the social selling community. And we've got two colleagues, Jerry Moran and Mick Adam, who have developed this comprehensive list of social selling trigger events for LinkedIn and Twitter respectively. Now, these digital events should immediately engender a social media conversation, i.e. a message, to a current or future member of your network when any one of these events happen. Now, I'm not going to go over these events line by line, but I will highlight some of my key indicators. For LinkedIn, number 1, if someone views my profile. Numbers 13 through 15, content. Someone likes, comments, or shares my content. It also holds true for my LinkedIn publishing posts, which are numbers 16 through 18. Because if a buyer or a prospect has made an effort to interact with you, whether it's your profile or your content, whether that content is curated or creative, you must reciprocate in kind. That's just common sense. And on Twitter, my preferences are similar. Number 1, numbers 3 through 7, you got to build your network. Barb, which of these triggers do you favor most? Other than all of them, of course.
Which do I figure? Well, anytime I pick up on somebody who's maybe shared one of my tweets, maybe they've mentioned me, I think about Hootsuite. One of the columns that I am very keen to pay attention to is the one that I set up with @mention of my name. And I do that on purpose because I want to make sure that I'm able to thank people for connecting with me. So just like you, Kevin, it's different content. I may look at the people I know feature. Maybe somebody endorsed me or I got a recommendation. I was invited. It could be any number of things. And so on these two platforms, there's a lot to go on. Also, if you're using LinkedIn on a regular basis, somebody's gotten promoted or has a birthday. I really love to congratulate somebody on a work anniversary or wish them a happy birthday. The caveat there is, if you're going to do things like that, then just do that. Nothing annoys me more than somebody to send maybe a happy birthday message and then it's like, oh, by the way, let me tell you about all the stuff we sell. Right, so you want to keep that in context. Now, also, I'm a huge fan and profiled Inside View in the book as an early proponent, and their sales team are early users of social selling strategies. Inside View coupled with LinkedIn is my 1-2 punch in terms of my prospecting, lead generation, and pre-sales call research. And with Inside View, going a little bit deeper looking for those triggers, I can set up agents based on terminology, either custom with a paid account, or I could use the standard agents. And so it might be things like partnerships or corporate challenges, company presentations, could be new products, any number of things. But the thing that I really like about Inside View in particular is that it is searching from over 40 sources of publicly available data and data available in social networks. So you're getting this real-time information to help you make some determinations about ways to start conversations. We could spend a whole hour talking about LinkedIn and all the incredible ways that you can use it as part of your sales process. But in terms of prospecting, what's really important is that you are looking for opportunities to engage. And if you're paying attention, your prospects will give you those clues through the triggers. And then once that happens, of course, now is the opportunity to craft that message. And there's a right way and a not so right way.
Absolutely, Barb. And what should I write in that LinkedIn connection request to a prospect? And this is going to be the first of 2 messaging strategies that we're going to teach you that you can use today, you can use immediately. Again, common sense. ask yourself one question. Would you want to receive this message? Read it before you send it. Don't send a generic connection request, because what kind of impression does that make? As Barb said before, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Don't try to sell your product. Don't try to make mention of your product or service. Your goal, it should be to begin your business relationship properly by providing value. So how are you going to do that? 2 ways. Number 1, be a resource. Position yourself as a valuable resource of information on a specific topic. And number 2, provide context. Why are you sending this prospect a connection request? Did he or she look at your profile or interact with a piece of your content? Do you share a mutual connection? Think about the trigger events slide. Now, if you look at this request here, I'm reaching out to Tom. I'm going to select how I know Tom, and I'm going to write 3 sentences. Tom viewed my profile. Thanks for viewing my LinkedIn profile. Please feel free to use me as a resource for anything related to. I'm going to enter my area of expertise, which in this case is social selling, in the future. Let's keep in touch. Regards, my name. That is a non-threatening, non-salesy message. Shows Tom I want to be a resource. Gives him the context under which I want to connect with him. I send that message. He's going to connect with me. Plain and simple. Personalized.
Well, and I think what's also cool about that, though, Kevin, is that, so, you know, what I said is you never get a second chance to make a great first impression. Mm-hmm. You can make an impression. It may or may not be a good one, right? So the choice is you, or is up to you. So why us? Why us now is really the question. So take us through the strategy that you share with people in terms of making that message really relevant and leading to the outcome that they're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. This is a messaging, prospecting messaging strategy that was developed by Jeff Hoffman. And again, 3 simple sentences. It's going to be how you structure your messages, and it's all about providing value. Just as it says, why you now? You're going to include in your message a piece of content, which is usually going to be a blog post or some article that is going to be relevant to your prospect or buyer. And the first sentence, you know, you're sharing this piece of content with them because you're thinking of them. Here's why you should explore the content. Why you? Second one, what's the context? How do you, the person who's sharing, link back to the story? Okay, I'm sharing with you a study about how data is going to increase productivity on the sales team. You know, how I link back to the story as a resource. My company has performed similar studies with XYZ company and has achieved these results. Call to action. On Monday at August 3 at this time, or Tuesday, August 4 at this time, I'm free to talk further about leveraging data to increase sales performance. Which date and time is best for a quick discussion? So, why you? Why you now? Call to action, something relevant to your ideal buyer that's going to make them think about the value you provided, how you're related to that value, and then a call to action. This day or this day? Which time's better for you? And this messaging strategy you can employ to get your prospect on the phone for a brief discussion.
Excellent. So now we've done all this work, right? We've done the prospecting. We're reaching out to the folks. We're following the strategies suggested in terms of crafting the right message. And, of course, I really like this suggestion about being very clear about the meeting time and date, because nothing makes me crazier than, hey, do you have a few minutes in the next week? Well, you know, no. So, I mean, you know, if you've given me something compelling and then you suggest, hey, this time or that time, I'm yeah, you know, okay, sure, the August 4 is going to work good for me, and I can give you a couple of minutes to do it. But that all assumes that you've done a great job creating a quality message that's relevant and valuable to the person that you're targeting. And then finally, I mentioned at the very beginning, so in the last couple of minutes today, we just want to share with you a few thoughts around branding yourself. Today, our job as sellers is to be both outbound sellers and inbound marketers. And by that I mean we're going to be employing a collection of strategies that will hopefully bring buyers to you. So we talked about search, but don't forget that other people are searching for the products and services that they need as well to solve problems in their business organization. So there are things that you can be doing with your own profile, like the use of keywords and other things to bring people to you. So you're going to do this work. You're going to create an opportunity for people to come and engage with you, because we know that buyers are going out and they are doing early stage research. And in the same IDC study that I referred to earlier in the presentation, 75% of those B2B buyers are using social media to be informed about vendors and the people who are in sales positions that represent them. So you have to ask yourself, what will people find when they visit your profile? It could be LinkedIn or Twitter or any number of places. But the whole thing that we're trying to do here is to make sure that we are creating an impression of a trust and credibility and capability. You want to create visibility for yourself, of course, recognizing that people are looking for the things that you offer. And you can do that in a variety of strategies, and there's some other ways to do that. But if you think about LinkedIn, just a couple of things you can do immediately if you haven't already is make sure that you are customizing that LinkedIn profile all through the profile. Use keywords up underneath your name in the headline area instead of a title. Think about that. People aren't searching for account rep. They're searching for people who do risk management or sales training or revenue increase, whatever it might be. But think about the kinds of terms that you would search on if you are looking to buy a product or service to solve your problem. And then think about that in terms of what your customer would be searching for. You want a compelling summary. You want to have some experience detailed. And also don't forget to incorporate media. It could be a presentation, a white paper. LinkedIn owns SlideShare, so you can create SlideShare presentations that are hooked up right to your LinkedIn profile. All kinds of ways to create a compelling message about who you are. But don't overlook this really important point. Even though these are so many of the basics, there are often a lot of folks who are not taking the time to make sure that they are decking out that profile in a well thought out way. And then there are other players in the marketplace, aren't there, Kevin?
There sure are. And full disclosure, I always look at the latest shiny thing. If you wave a shiny thing in front of me, I'm going to take a look at it. But you have to think about how these other social platforms, including live streaming such as Meerkat and Periscope, how does that fit your plan? Is this a prospecting tool that you want to use right now? To use a cliche, you need to fish where the fish are. If your ideal buyer or your ideal prospect is not currently involved on those platforms, it's probably not the best time where you want to spend your most valuable resource, which is your time. Because what's going to be the ROI of your prospecting efforts there? Now, technology is great. Keep current on everything. But as far as prospecting goes, if you are going after a certain ideal buyer, after a buyer persona that's going to lead to a sale, and they're not spending time on live streaming or some other platform that hasn't even been invented yet, understand it, know how to use it. But if your people aren't there, think about how you want to spend your time and what is going to be the return on your investment. Keep current, but spend time where you're going to get the most value.
Excellent. So we've covered a lot of great stuff, and I would say that, in terms of thinking about these other players, let's say you are using Twitter and you are considering other channels, make sure also there on those profiles where you have the opportunity to give some hints in terms of what you do. Again, make it relevant, keep it consistent, make sure that people are clear about who you are. I'm also a fan of saying that make sure that your telephone number is pretty visible, especially if you're in sales. Let's make it easy for people to call you. Because call me old-fashioned, but I think the phone is still great sales technology. And I mean, very few B2B buyers, especially in complex sales situations, who just want to text their entire conversation to you. So I think it's really important that you make sure that whatever platform you choose, as Kevin said, that you also ensure that your brand message represents you consistently across those platforms. Probably the only deviation might be on your Facebook page where you're hanging out with your personal friends and family. Maybe that looks a little bit differently, but otherwise you want to make sure that you maintain that really consistent business presence. And as Kevin said, it's so critically important to meet the buyer where they are. It's important to meet them where they are in terms of their education and knowledge about products and services that are available to help them solve the problem. Granted, they're doing early stage research. That doesn't mean that they have it all figured out. So I like to think of it as validate, not interrogate. So validate what people know, not interrogate them as if they know nothing. And then kind of meet them where they are in that sales conversation. And then when you're thinking about online and how you engage online, be sure you're spending time, as Kevin already mentioned, in the right places, because time is money. And so you've got to spend that wisely. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself floundering around and maybe feeling like your activities aren't leading to very many results. So, at the end of the day, prospecting is an ongoing process, and it has to happen really on a daily basis. If you find yourself getting caught up in the day-to-day requirements of what's going on in your business, you might even want to just book an appointment with yourself so that every single day it is there. And that time is for you to spend the time doing the prospecting. Don't take a day off. As Kevin said from the very beginning, it's hard to catch up, right? It's hard to catch up. You can't catch up when you let weeks go by thinking, people are on vacation, they're not going to respond. I got to tell you, some of the biggest deals I've ever closed happened because I picked up the phone and called somebody early on a Friday afternoon. Nobody else was calling. And the buyer was winding down, getting ready for their weekend. They picked up the phone. We had a great conversation, and away we went. So with that, I think we've covered some great stuff. Let me just pause for a moment and see if you have any questions you'd like to share with us. You can feel free to drop those in on chat, and we'll be happy to take those for you. So let's just pause for a moment and give you a chance to queue up those questions. Well, alrighty then, Kevin, we must have just blown them away with our great insights into how to prospect during the summertime lull.
Well, I think either everyone's taking copious notes or they're just waiting for the recording that they're going to get afterwards. And we are
Absolutely.
available for questions. Once you get the recording, if you do have questions, you can reach out to us for more questions as well.
Absolutely. So listen, we are here to assist you in any way that we can. If you'd like to learn more, we are going to be launching a new social selling training, which is an online course. It's an 8-week instructor-led live training that we're recording every single session. We recognize that people can't attend everything live. And we're really going to go deep into how you do the right kind of planning and get yourself trained so that you can be sure that you are focusing your attention and your activities in the right way. So the class is starting on August 18th. We really only have a few seats left. You can feel free to learn more and visit the website at scs-connect.com and then just click on the individual and small groups tab and you can learn a little bit more. Now, if you're interested, and this is only for those people who have joined us today and taken time out of their busy summertime day to join us for the webinar, and if you like what you see and you join us within the next 24 hours, then you're going to also receive a personal one-to-one complimentary individual coaching session with either Kevin or myself to help you on your sales journey. So if you have questions once you get the recording, feel free to connect with us. You can connect with either one of us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and we are here to be a resource and happy to help you in any way that we can. But the message is, Don't take a day off from your prospecting, and remember that a lot of your competitors are. So therein lies your competitive advantage. Anything else you'd like to share, Kevin?
No, Barb, you actually summed up everything very nicely. You've done your homework. You've got your ideal buyer persona created. Prospect, find, message. Make sure your brand is consistent. Listen to this recording. If you have any questions, reach out to Barb and I. We want to see those great connection messages on LinkedIn. Follow us on Twitter. We will gladly help you out whatever way possible. And sign up for this class because you will learn so much more in so much greater detail.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it that you joined us. It says a lot about your commitment to being successful in everything that you do. And you will, just to reinforce, you will be getting a copy of the recording, and we will be uploading the presentation to SlideShare. That link will also be included in the follow-up messaging that you receive within the next 24 hours. So you'll get a copy of the presentation, you'll get the recording link, and if you have questions, you can reach out to either one of us. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today, and happy prospecting.